So if you've inherited a house along with other siblings, but you would rather keep the property than sell it, well, you may be wondering what steps you need to take to buy out the other siblings. And today's video will cover 5 things to consider in a buyout, as well as a buyout calculation example. I'm Harold Powell, a local real estate agent serving Ventura and the surrounding communities. And if you like my videos and want to stay up to date on all things real estate for Ventura and the surrounding areas, I suggest hitting the like, subscribe, and bell icon to be notified of future content. Now, typically when you inherit a piece of property from parents passing away through a trust or through probate, the trust will state who the beneficiaries are, the successor trustee, which will be the person in charge of carrying out the instructions of the trust. The probate process, on the other hand, will require more time, 9 to 10 months, and it will also require more money for court and attorney fees on the entire estate. So, I suggest watching my video on the probate process for more information. Now, if you have a will, you will still need to go through the probate process as well. So in either case, once there is authority to sell a property, you can begin the process of a buyout. Now, the first step is to get an accurate current market valuation. In most sibling buyout cases, getting a professional appraisal of the property will be essential. Now, depending on the situation, you and your siblings may not want to rely on just one appraisal and decide to get 2 appraisal opinions of the current value. It's important to understand that an appraisal is just an opinion of value, and there is no way to scientifically prove the value of a home. But by getting 2 appraisals that you can compare and get a better feel for the inherited property value may be better. So I will say, when looking for appraisals, try to find appraisers that don't just work for banks. Look for appraisers that specialize in time of death appraisals or with inherited property sales. Now, these appraisers typically work with attorneys on a regular basis and focus on providing values for individual consumers, not just banks. So it's worth noting that 2 appraisal values will likely be different, but ideally they should be within about 5% of each other. Now, additionally, sometimes I've had clients ask me to come up with a valuation as well for just comparison's sake. And if you need, obviously, appraisal recommendations, please reach out. Now, I will say, in a very hot market with very little inventory, we do see home prices exceed what an appraiser will actually appraise a property for. And sometimes siblings are really wanting to get as much money for the property as possible. So, one way to maximize the buyout sale price in a really hot real estate market is to put the property on the market with a provision that the family member reserve the right to match the highest bidder. Now, this allows the siblings to see what the actual market will be willing to pay, and if the buyout sibling is willing to match the highest bidder minus his equity position. So in this scenario, there will be some real estate fees depending on whether it's an outside buyer or a sibling purchase. Now, the second step is a home inspection. Now, whichever sibling is looking to purchase a property, they should get a property home inspection so they understand the overall condition and possible deficiencies of the property they are looking to acquire, especially if they're not living in the property. Now, as an example, if the furnace and the roof is at the end of its useful life, that could potentially be a negotiated item off the appraisal value. Now, I suggest watching my video request for repair on understanding what's reasonable. Step 3 is calculate the buyout. Now, once you have come up with the value, understand what the existing mortgage is, possible repair credits. So let's take a look at a simple example. Now, in this example, we have 3 siblings, a property value of $1.5 million, an existing loan of $250,000, and a $20,000 credit for repair. So we subtract off the loan and the credit from the property value to come up with the equity, then divide by 3 since there are now 3 siblings. Now you can calculate the buyout sales price. Now, the buyout sales price is the 2 sibling payoff plus the existing loan, which is $1,070,000. Now, one question is the parent's mortgage assumable by the sibling when the parents pass away? And, well, as long as it's not a reverse mortgage, a lender should allow the adult child to assume that loan if they're going to live in the property. Now, if the adult child isn't going to live in the property, the lender is not required to allow them to assume the mortgage. And in that case, you would probably need to check with the lender since each lender is different. So, in option 1, a sibling could bring cash to the deal and assume the parent's existing loan. And in this case of a probate process, each sibling will be responsible for the probate costs, attorney fees, as well as any other unpaid liens or outstanding credit loans that will need to be accounted for. Otherwise, for option 2 is to finance the purchase. So if the purchase sibling is looking to finance the deal, they'll need to get pre-approved for the purchase, which should only take 3 to 5 business days. And in this example, we have a 20% down payment, which equates to $214,000 of the purchaser's own money plus any lender and escrow fees. Step 4, open escrow and order a title report. The title report will let you know if there are any unpaid liens against the property that will need to be paid off when the property is sold. And the title company will also ensure that the title is transferred to the purchaser free and clear of any liens. And escrow is just the neutral party that will work with the lender, the title company, order city reports, and coordinate document signings. And so if the property is being sold through a trust, you will need to provide escrow with a copy of the trust along with the death certificates. If you're going through probate, you will also need to provide escrow with the death certificates and the court-certified documents of the letters of testimony. Now, step 5 is tax implications. Now, inheriting a property can have tax implications, so it's important to consult with a professional tax professional to understand the tax implications of keeping the inherited house. Also, I suggest watching my video on tax on inherited property. Now, as far as property taxes in California, if the property is going to be used as a rental, it will be reassessed for its current market value by the county tax assessor. Otherwise, in California, Prop 19 allows for a full or partial parent-child tax transfer for only the parent's principal residence. Additionally, the son or daughter will need to make the property their own principal residence and not a rental property. Next, you will need to determine if you will receive either a full or partial reassessment exclusion. A full reassessment exclusion is allowed for principal residence if the fair market value of the principal residence is less than the sum of the existing taxable value plus $1 million. Now, if the fair market value is more than the sum of the existing taxable value plus $1 million, then a partial exclusion is allowed for the principal residence. So let's take a look at an example just to make this clear. All right, we have a parent family residence that has a taxable value of $425,000 at the time of death. You can find this number on the property tax statement. Next, on the parent's date of death, a property value, let's say in this case, has a fair market value of $1.7 million. So now we can calculate the sum of the taxable value of $425,000 plus $1 million, which equals $1.425 million. Now, since the fair market value is $1.7 million, that will mean you would receive a partial exclusion. Now, take the difference between $1.7 million minus $1.425 million, which is $275,000. Now you can take the current tax value of $425,000 plus the $275,000 to come up with the new taxable value of $700,000. Now, of course, in this example, if the fair market value was $1.425 million or less, you would receive a full reassessment exclusion. And now in order to take advantage of this reassessment exclusion for transfer between parent and child, you will need to file the form. And I will put a link in the description below for Ventura County. Now, these 5 steps assume you don't run into problems and don't have any questions. And the truth is you may need to reach out to a real estate attorney for legal advice. Now, if you are already using a probate attorney, they will likely be able to advise you. But there are situations where siblings may not want to sell or are living in the property rent-free and don't want to move. And I will say that emotions can run high, and oftentimes it's best to try to give everyone time to process as well as get a deadline to get things settled. Otherwise, seeking legal advice may help avoid costly mistakes as well as time. Now, if you found this video helpful, please give it a like. Thanks.